Please join me in welcoming company ensemble Commonwealth doing their brand new show debuting tonight, That American Life.
The start time is 8:58. I have a pen. If anybody needs, all right. And start recording. From Washington Improv Theater in Washington, D.C., it's That American Life, the show where we explore the stories that make up this thing called America and American life, and life that takes place in America. And that life is made up of stories, and we are inspired by those stories to then create more stories and record them. And in order to start this series of explorations, I would ask, would there be anybody here who would be able to come down on stage just for 1 minute, maybe or maybe 2 minutes, to tell us about an interesting story that you read, something that you found compelling, maybe a blog post, maybe something in the New Yorker. You there, sir? Would you be willing to? Great. And let's see. Let's just make sure that mic is on. You can go ahead and speak into it.
Hello?
We'll have to do a volume limiter on that section of the audio. But could I get your name?
Jorgisborg Smorgasborg. With a G.
Jory's. Yeah.
Joy for short.
Would you just be willing to write that down? That is not a release or anything. It's just that I want to be able to say your name. Correct. Thank you, Jory's board. Wonderful. So, Jory's board. Yeah, Jory's
Whatever.
Jory's board. So, is there a story that you read this week that you found compelling?
Well, it was actually many weeks ago when I was just a young toddler, and there was a short, small man that he would get really sad when the trees would get cut down. And, he tried and tried and tried to save all of the trees, and, there was a doctor, I think his name was Seuss, and, he would tell the stories of how the trees would get cut down, and this little man would be so sad when the trees would get cut down.
If I could just reconstruct this, let's just bring it back to that point, Jory's board. A small man, trees, some emotion there. How did it make you feel?
Sad, and sad for the trees. And then slightly confused, because, trees are nice. I don't know why anyone would cut them down.
Jory's board, I want to thank you very much. This has been almost definitely something that happened. I just want to thank you for sharing something that you almost definitely did read.
Oh, of course. Actually, my mother read it.
All right, you can take your seat. All right, team, come on out.
Wow. That's gonna go viral.
So we need 3 acts.
Three acts.
Every week,
All right.
3 acts, right? Okay.
Yes.
I have a personal story.
Okay.
In my childhood, I had a lot of dreams about trees
Yeah.
that were very formative because trees are like phalluses, yeah? So sex trees.
Sex trees.
Yeah.
Sex trees.
Hung like a tree.
I had an idea. So this guy's name sounded very Norwegian to me.
Oh.
And there's this thing There's this thing lately where it's very in vogue to go to Iceland.
Oh, yeah.
Have you noticed that?
Oh, yeah.
Everyone's going to Iceland. I want to go to Iceland.
Do the Iceland. Kate does.
I'm going to do
Kate does
Iceland. Yeah.
Kate, and that's our title. That's our producer.
Yep.
Kate does Iceland.
Yes.
Kate does Iceland. Nice.
I think, the Seuss way of life, right?
Mm.
Something to be examined. What effect does it have on people?
Oh, what places? Where?
The places where they go.
All the places.
What happens?
Where they go.
Or based on Seuss.
Yes.
Raised
Where
on
are they?
Seuss. Oh, raised on
Raised on Seuss.
Raised on
Yeah.
Seuss. Yeah. Raised on Seuss. It's great.
Act 3.
Raised on Seuss. And that is Jackie.
Yeah,
Jackie.
great.
All right, Jackie raised on Seuss.
Got it.
Great. That's Act 3. Act 2 is Kate does Iceland. Kate's eyes. And Act 1 is Catherine hung like a tree. I think there's a lot of stories of like self-growth and self-discovery. So,
Redfish, bluefish, Iceland fish, tree fish.
great.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's good.
Okay, that's the name of the show.
That's the name of the
This episode is
This
titled-
episode.
Redfish, bluefish, Iceland fish, tree fish. Nailed it.
Okay.
From childhood onward, we start our lives small, and then we grow. And what happens in that time between when we are small and when we are grown up? It's not all just about small liberal arts colleges and then grad school. So what's your life? Tonight on the show, redfish, bluefish, Iceland fish,
Tree fish.
tree fish. We have Act 1, a personal exploration with Catherine Denman hung like a tree.
Dreams, right? When I was like a little girl, like most little girls, like I had dreams about, what do you dream about when you're little? I dreamt about stories like Goldilocks and I had a particular dream that I remember having a number of times about the 3 bears attacking me at my swing set. I was attacked, I was screaming, they were bears. All of that is true. I know, right? How did I make it to adulthood? I ask myself that every day. How did I get over that dream? Because it was a nightmare is what it was. Anyway, so I called my mom.
Sweetie,
Hi, Mom.
I haven't heard from you in so long.
I know, I'm working
It's
on
been
the
at
podcast.
least a month. Are
I'm
you-
working on the podcast.
Are you still getting up periods?
Okay. We're gonna record this for the podcast. So I was gonna ask you something, I was gonna ask you something about my dreams. Remember when I had those dreams and I woke up in the middle of the night and I crawled into your bed?
Yes.
Sometimes it was awkward.
I never found it to be awkward. You're not my daughter. You can come sleep with me now.
I don't think that's... No,
Your father's never home.
that's a separate story.
He's some sort of airline pilot, he tells me.
My dad actually passed away, and she can't quite come to terms with it. But the thing is, that all relates to my nightmare. How is that possible? Well, this is how. I called my best friend from childhood, Tommy Sullivan.
Oh my god.
I know.
Talk about the boys from the past. Catherine?
I'm like,
What are you doing?
I am working on this podcast. Do you like? I'm sort of recording. Do you mind if I ask you a couple of questions? And then like we
Shoot.
Okay, anyway. So remember, I used to come to school and like all tear stained and stuff, and I talk about trees and how the trees that were my
They were
swing
like
set.
phalluses for
Yes,
you.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. And then they came to life and they like
vivid.
abducted me.
Yeah.
Do you remember? Was Mrs. White in first grade. Do you remember how she humiliated me because of that dream?
She said there was something mentally wrong with you, which was a way of phrasing it above our abilities at that. We didn't know what she meant.
Did you hear that? Mentally wrong.
Mentally wrong.
Mentally wrong.
First grade.
First grade.
What a shit show.
Shit show.
Catherine, how are your parents?
Well, you know my dad is deceased.
Oh my, I did not know that. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, he died in a tree accident.
He didn't fly a plane.
Into a tree.
Oh my God.
Into a tree.
It's always the good ones.
Always the good, only the good die young. And that's when I knew, like, that this tree dream was a premonition.
Oh.
And then everything that's happened to me, I've
Right.
already dreamt about.
So, what's gonna happen to you next?
This podcast.
Is that a bear? Is there a bear on your... There's not a bear on my end. Is there a bear on your end?
There's a bear, I keep bears.
Is that wise?
You know Grizzly Man? Nothing ever happened to him. I mean, he's still alive.
Died in a bear attack.
I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right.
Hey, Catherine,
Actually, he did die.
Catherine, you're breaking up. Catherine, is it licking the phone?
I put some peanut butter on the phone.
These seem like really bad choices.
That's what happens when a first grade teacher tells you that you're mentally, what was it?
Wrong.
Wrong. So thanks, Mrs. White.
Thanks for nothing.
Thanks for nothing.
That was Catherine Dead with Hung Like a Tree, and I apologize. I should have announced beforehand that act would acknowledge that latent sexuality exists. Between Europe and America, there is nothing. Or is there? Kate Symes explores in Kate Does I.
So here's the thing. In college, I did my study abroad in Italy. Like most students, I went over, I learned a language, and I got drunk a lot. In my older years, we don't have as much opportunity to travel. We get settled in work, relationships, family, and it occurred to me, I haven't been to Europe in 10 years. So I said, listen, I'm gonna call up my friend who's this great, he knows everything that there is to know about the world. Like the smartest guy I've ever met.
Yeah, hello, how are you, Kate?
His name is Jorgensen, and we've known each other since childhood. I'm gonna let him explain a little bit more about how he got to know so much about the world.
Yeah, well, I was raised by a traveling circus.
Now, I want to pause there and just have you really appreciate that. This guy was raised by a circus.
Yeah, I didn't have any parents. It was just I was raised by the circus.
Yeah, he wasn't even in the circus. He was just raised by it.
I don't even know exactly where I got my accent from, and this is one of the many questions that I was asking myself when I was coming of age in the circus. And then one day we traveled to Iceland, and I realized that this was my people's, and I found myself there. And so I think that it is important for anybody to be going around the world to find the places that is where they are belonging.
And that was it. It was simple. I was going to Iceland. With one conversation, my whole trajectory changed. One day you're on a path You're walking to the office, you're going to Avant Pan for lunch every day, and then the next day you're on a plane. And so I found myself in Jorgensen's land with Jorgensen's mom and dad.
Welcome to Iceland.
Where's the wine? Is this the little girl?
This is Jorgensen's friend.
You fly into Reykjavik,
Yeah.
very tight, very cramped, you must be sweating.
There is no legroom on flights to Iceland.
Oh my gosh, you're picking
It's
nits
very
out
bad.
of, they're picking nits.
Jorgensen's parents were amazing. They were so welcoming. They lived in this little village called Squaw.
Yeah, they're amazing except for the fact that they abandoned me with a circus. Just saying.
Did Jorgensen tell you that we abandoned him? Because it is a little bit of difference in
He
story.
ran away to
He ran away. Circus come into Reykjavik.
Yeah, when I was 6 months old, like this story.
Circus come into Reykjavik. We take him to circus like good parents.
Bearded lady, he cried away.
He cried the whole time.
I spent nearly 3 days going over this story with them about whether or not Jorgensen had in fact run away at 6 months to join the circus. Finally, at the end of our third night, and a long meal of smoked fishes and chamomile tea, we got to the bottom of it. What is Jorgensen and Iceland is a bigger concept. What is Iceland?
You know, what is Iceland?
It's island in Atlantic Ocean. Americans know nothing of geography. They think nothing between America and Europe.
That's right.
I mean,
It's Greenland too.
inside of
Greenland is to the north.
What is it, Judy, that makes you abandon your children?
Well, we gotta start over. Circus come into that.
You've been in our house 3 days. We don't
Eating our smoked fishes, drinking our chamomile tea.
I was in the Jorgensen's home for 6 more days resolving that issue, again, whether or not Jorgensen had left. But there was a moment, and I want to really point out this moment. There was a moment when I was talking with those two people, and I realized something about this island in the middle of nowhere.
It looks like you have epiphany. Share.
This island is bullshit.
That's right, Iceland is bullshit.
We send you a circus. You go away now. They come into Reykjavik next month, you go. Until then, you stay with us and eat smoked fishes and drink chamomile.
Very hot chamomile tea.
It's the only way to stay warm. Besides touristic hot springs, which are very nice.
Oh, very nice this time of year.
I did eventually make it to the hot springs, and I joined my friend Elle.
Bitch. Oh my God, this is.
Elle is a total bitch.
This is so beautiful.
Yeah.
I love it. It's great.
Iceland is bullshit.
I continued on my journey trying to find out more about this bullshit island. And, you know, we were swimming in the hot springs and having the mud treatments, and we met this guy, and this guy was different. He had that quirk about him, you know, kind of like the guy that you meet in high school and you're like, you're quirky. He was like that guy.
Well, hey guys, I'm quirky.
Oh my
I
God.
like this is the birthday
I'm wearing
right
sweatpants
now.
on my wrist and I'm not even sweating. It's got Pac-Man on it.
Oh my God.
I love it.
It's oh, this is great.
I'm
Yeah.
coming around on this Iceland. More people like you.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I was born in Canada.
So Ted was his name, and Ted told us about an ancient Iceland myth that says that if you go into a hot springs with a person that you love, you will die. together. So, obviously,
Well, again, Iceland is bullshit.
Yep, pretty much. But I'm quirky, so I live here. Feel that.
Ted showed us around the rest of the island, and I came to find some fond feelings and some mysteries, and we saw the nature, the natural beauty.
There's some rocks. There's grass over there. See?
Pretty insignificant.
Yeah. That's what it is, pretty much all around. And there's water. Rocks, grass, water.
I'm out.
And that's the thing. The world is just that. It's just the world. Iceland's just like America. Okay? Rocks, water. I'm in Ted. Yeah. And that's what I learned.
That's Kate Symes with Kate Does Iceland. And to tee up Act 3, I would like to bring Jackie Bleach into the studio. She's a producer. She's a longtime producer for That American Life. And I just wanted to ask Jackie, I just wrote the first part of it, Raised On, and then I forgot the rest of it.
It was raised on Seuss.
Thanks. We all remember those rhyming books written by that man who supposedly was a doctor. Jackie Bleach will be exploring more on that in our third act, Raised on Seuss.
These days, children are allotted 10 minutes of TV time. They aren't allowed to grow up watching television. They are told to read books. I grew up on television. I wasn't allowed to read books. So I had never encountered the doctor. I made it my personal quest to find those that were raised on rhyme and figure out what it was about them. Where are they now? Are they kooky? Are they crazy?
I love to run. I love to swim. I was raised on Seuss, and my name is Jim.
So I met this guy, Jim, jerking off in the corner of the children's section at the library. And I thought, maybe he was raised on Seuss.
Some may be smart and some may be dumb, but the library is my favorite place to come.
So I started to wonder, every question I asked this guy, is he going to answer in rhyme? Is that what I'm missing out on? So I said to Jim, were you raised on Dr. Seuss?
You can call me tight, you can call me loose, but everybody says I was raised on Seuss.
But your name isn't Ted, right? It's Jim. I'm doing a podcast.
You can bet that even if you say I'm tight, my name is Jim, and that's right.
So, I asked Jim what it was about growing up on Seuss that made things different.
Oh boy, let me see. What do I love so much? Oh me. Is it the colors or is it the people? Is it the way that I watch through the peephole?
I had to get to the bottom of this. So I called up Jim's psychologist.
Jim is certifiably insane. My name is Dr. Linda.
Dr. Linda. She actually specializes in those raised on Seuss. She's world renowned.
So it's a really interesting phenomenon. We see children being raised on Dr. Seuss books. 9 times out of 10, they become psychopathic library What's the technical term for a hand job?
I think it's a hand job.
Library hand jobbers.
Does Jim ever open up when he is pleasuring himself? Well, let me rephrase that. Does Jim open up about pleasuring himself and the thoughts that are going through his head? Is it the cat in the hat? Is it the giving tree?
You know what we find more often than not? It's Oh, the Places You'll Go.
Right.
It's the classic book given to you at high school graduation that actually turns you on that trajectory toward a life of living and coming in public.
So, I searched all over to find the person who gave Jim that book. And I found them in a library, jerking off. Again.
What I do in this library is my own business.
It's not though, this is a public library.
Potato, potato.
This was Jim's Uncle Rodney.
Hi.
Rodney, why did you give Jim that book?
I remember when someone gave me that book when I was, knee-high to a grasshopper. And, well, in short, it put me on a trajectory of jacking off in public libraries, and I wanted him to have the same future I had.
At this point I knew my feelings were right. Those who like Seuss also like it tight. They do it in rhyme, they do it in song, but when they masturbate, they always do it wrong. These are the tales I will tell you the truth. Do not let your children read Dr. Seuss.
That was Jackie Bleachy with with Raised on Seuss, and again, I just want to acknowledge that horrible. That particular piece did acknowledge that horrible, perverse sex exists. That wraps up our show, That American Life. Our producers tonight were Catherine Dedman, Dennis Johnson, Jackie Bleachy, Kate Symes, Ryan Kroll, Jack Novak. In absentia producers are Caroline Blair Pettit, who is traveling in California away from her kids. Jules Duffy, who is a new mother. Jamie Lansman, who is now a father of two. And Justin Hammond, who had a paying gig tonight. Thanks to Gjorsbank Smorgasbord for sharing his story. Thanks to Dan Miller for the music that we didn't get any permission to play. Commonwealth's director is Michael Johnson. WIT's artistic director is Mark Chalfant, who has been known to say, "Yeah, I was raised by the circus." I'm Stuart Walsh, and that was That American Life.